Is Yieldy still the best way to earn on Algorand? We're going to do our 1 year review. This is probably our first 1 year review that we've done on this channel. So it kind of tells you how new the channel still is. And we're going to look on that, dive into the specifics, some of the changes that have happened on Yieldy in a year. And we're going to dig into that on today's Frugal BC. What's up, guys? Frugal BC, welcome back to the channel. We are diving into Yieldy today. Yeah, so I was in on day one on Yieldy. It was the first, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was the very first DeFi platform on Algorand. This is the thing that actually got me to move my Algorand from Coinbase to its own wallet. So I wanted, just so I could try this stuff out, because I really wanted to see how it would work. I was impressed by the percentages, and like, this is what we get into Algorand for. It's not just to hold it on an exchange, but to actually use it and do something with it. So that's what we're going to dive into today, how it's been in 1 year, what changes it's made, how the platform looks now, and, kind of my evaluation on how it stands in the general ecosystem. Before we do that, if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button so you can see all our videos. We do the experiments and let you know how it goes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't hide anything here. It's all about really finding out how this stuff actually works, not how it's supposed to work, but how it actually works. And a lot of times with crypto, like, those two things do not match up. We've seen that time and time again with some of the other blockchains I've tried. And the reason I do a lot of videos on Algorand is just because the stuff actually works. It does a lot of the stuff does what it says it's going to do, or at least pretty close to it, which is different from some of the other stuff we've tried. So enough about that. Let us get into Yieldy. I want to talk a little bit about this because, so like I said, this launched more than a year ago. I did my first video in July of last year and had been doing it for about 3 weeks, according to my video's description. And so it was right around May, June. I remember this. I can't remember the time period. It's actually changed quite a bit. They've added features since then. They subtracted them. Now, remember, they got some flack from the Algorand community because they announced one of their partnerships was going to be with Polygon. People did not like that. I personally disagreed with that. I think it's multi-chain is good if we can connect some of these chains, some of these higher level chains. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it grows the ecosystem well. Now, that was different because it was additional to all the stuff they were doing on Algorand. The reason I criticized LimeWire for something similar, and I understand why people might get confused by that, because LimeWire, the very first thing, even though they announced this big partnership with Algorand, the very first thing they did was a partnership on it. The first NFT was on Ethereum. It's like, come on, guys, really? So anyway, I haven't done anything on LimeWire since, because I just haven't been that interested in it. Some other things, Yieldy price has tanked a lot. It's not been the greatest coin, even in the ASA space, even considering the market downturn. It's been tanking a lot before everything else was really tanking. It just hasn't been done well in price, and it is what it is. So I received about 5,000. If you were an early person on Yieldy, you got a drop of like 5,000 Yieldy. So a lot of my Yieldy stuff that was on there at one point in time was stuff that they had given me. So if you were an early adopter, you got that. And I think it was about a month or two after it started, something like that. There were some issues with the price listed on the platform being different than what you saw on, like, say, TinyChart and other exchanges. And the reason for that was that they were using the ERC20 version. I have not checked to see if that has been updated with the new platform, but they do have a brand new platform. It came out the relaunch came about a month ago. We're going to look at that. In fact, we're going to do that right now. And then we're going to after that, we're going to get into some pros and cons and just kind of my analysis of how it's gone for a year. So let's do that. Okay, so this is the main page that you see when you log in. It's very different. It still has that very flamingo style. It looks very Miami. I think Miami Vice, maybe I call it. Got that kind of 80s Florida feel to it. And always kind of did. This one seems a little more stylized, and I like it. I think it looks great compared to the old one. I can't credit, I got to give it credit because they were the first one. I'm 99.9% sure they were the first one, because I don't remember seeing any other Algorand projects before that. I could be wrong. Again, always happy to be corrected on stuff. They got staking, distribution pools, liquidity pools. And I've noticed the liquidity pools haven't been as generous. Now, one thing in the past, I did some math and it turned out like the APRs that they were giving on here were not accurate. Since these are lower, I'm assuming that they're probably closer to accurate now than they were before, but I haven't done the math on them. And they've got some stuff coming, this automatic market maker, which basically removes the middleman from a lot of this stuff. So this is something that they're doing. I don't know if anybody else has this yet. So that's a pretty big deal. Let's go take a look at you go to staking tab. You can see all the options. It's basically you're staking Yieldly and earning something in return. The very first one they ever did was Yieldly Algo. Stake Yieldly, get some Yieldly and some Algo back, about 18.8% according to them. A little less than $1 million invested in that, and they kind of go down from there. You can stake Yieldly and get bored, ASA, Kitsu, and as you can see, they all have expiration dates. And once they're done, then you can opt out and join something else. From what I've seen, they've always had, in each of these three categories, since they've had staking, liquidity, and distribution, they've always had a new one to jump to. So it's never like, oh, there's nothing for me to do now. Liquidity is more like you take a liquidity pool like you might have on TinyMan, and you can put it to work here and earn some money. Now, if you've been following TinyMan in the early days, you could earn a lot just by holding the pools. Those days are kind of over now. Most of the pools earn like a few percentages, so it's definitely worth it to get it onto Yieldly if that's something you're interested in. Now, what you got to remember is there's always the danger of impermanent loss. I haven't really had that happen yet, but also, but you got to remember the assets change in price. So if you pull out your pool when either of the assets is down versus up, of course, if one is really way up and the other's down, I think there's a possibility you could kind of even out, but you could lose money that way, even though you're gaining on the percentage. So that's something to keep in mind. And I've had some with like board where the price just dropped like crazy, not from the liquidity pool, but just from distribution, which we're getting to next. And as a result, even though you're gaining a percentage on the coin, your coin price is going down so much that you're still losing. And I lost a lot on the board one, so I got out of it, put it on something else. Cosmic is the only one I am currently staked in. I'm using some other platforms, like I talked about Cometa that I really like because of some of the options they have. But we can pull this up. You can see you can stake if you have more Cosmic in your wallet to stake. Claim will allow you to get the claimable rewards, and withdraw if you just want to like pop out and get all your stuff. It all goes back to your wallet if you hit withdraw. So now to restake, I'd have to first claim the pool and then restake, and that's how I would get that out. If I was doing that on the liquidity pool, I'd first probably want to claim let's say I'm here. I would want to claim the rewards that I made. I'm not in this, so obviously I don't have any. And I would claim the rewards, and then I'd have to go in and make a new liquidity pool and stake. So this is one of the things I like about Cometa, is that they actually allow you to compound automatically. And you do have to sign a number of screens, but it saves you time, it saves you screens, kind of just saves you a little bit of work. And I put that in quotes because I mean, come on, it's pushing buttons, but it is a pain. It is a pain to go through all that when you can just hit that. I'm kind of surprised with the revamp that they didn't try to do something similar, but it is what it is. This is the original, and this is pretty much how it worked since day one. I want to talk a little bit about the roadmap that they have coming. So as you can see, now this is back from May, so this isn't exactly new news, but something really important to consider is their roadmap for 2022 and DeFi and GameFi. Now, as you know, I've talked about this before. They've had some big partnerships. They had one with the Latin American gaming community. So the AMM acquisition, you can see that that's ready to launch. That is the automatic market makers that does a lot of this stuff without the middleman. Right now, there is a middleman. They have a buy and burn Yieldly program, which is kind of important. First governance vote, and I don't remember that coming up, but I could be wrong. I'm also not in it. So the GameFi, they want to do the GameFi project launch. That is Cosmic Champions. They have partnered with Cosmic Champs. Very excited for that game to come out. And then the Y launch and the YAM launch is coming Q4, as long with they're having their own Y NFT marketplace that'll be coming out. I don't see that yet. as well as an NFT prize games again. So that was one of, well, I'll get into that when I get to the pros and cons, but the NFT prize game was, kind of a waste of time, I thought, if you didn't have like a ton of Algorand. So we'll get to that there. And then, yeah, the metaverse, that's interesting stuff. I want to look at that in a little more detail. Yeah, it's the largest esports team in Algorand, is that Latin American one. And then Y Arena, expanding team offerings. So they're going to have this arena for metaverse. Let's see. I'm going to look at some of the stuff here. Yeah, they did complete the first governance vote. I did not participate in that, but they're doing some burning, which I think is interesting. They'll be launching some NFTs on the marketplace as soon as that comes up to support their fan memberships. I guess that's cool, huh? And NFT marketplace, that said Q2, doesn't look like that has happened yet. I didn't see. Can look really quick here, but I don't see yeah, they would have that up here. You'd have that ability. So they don't have that yet. Let's look at this, the Y Arena, the Metaverse beta. We are delighted to announce our Metaverse is nearing completion and is in its beta stage. We will be looking to have it launched within this quarter. I don't think that's out yet, but the Metaverse will be intertwined with YNFT, acting as a platform for GameFi projects to host AMAs, broadcast gameplay, live streams, and hold exclusive community events. So maybe we'll do some Cosmic Champs live streaming on there. The YAMMM launch. So they'll be launching that soon. We talked about that. I talked about the NFT launchpad that's coming soon. Y launch. Launchpad, working with our lawyers to structure the best way to play launchpad with full KYC for the Algorand ecosystem. Interesting. Yeah, we've seen a lot of launchpads announced, but I haven't seen a lot of projects on those launchpads, which is kind of interesting. But we'll get to that. Y Arena expanded team offerings. So more teams will be able to, basically run AMAs, hold NFT auctions, and that kind of stuff. And they want to extend NFT prize game. So they have 40 games on the NFT prize game, and with 7 million, an average of 7 million staked per prize game. But basically, if you had a ton of yieldy, you might have a chance of getting one of these NFTs. But for the most part, most average folks probably weren't going to win one of those NFTs. So it was fine. Like, it didn't really cost you anything. You just had to stake the whatever yieldy you had. And I believe you could have it staked in other things, as I recall. I don't know if the new one worked like that, but I just thought it was kind of pointless. But whatever, it is what it is, right? Okay, so I want to go through some of the pros and cons, and then I'm gonna kind of wrap up what I think about Yieldy overall. Pros, it was one of the very first, so it's had a lot more time to develop than the other platforms, and they have a lot of really cool stuff in the works that sounds cool. But in crypto, I've just learned to not get too excited about things that are coming, because sometimes those things just don't show up. I have to say, I don't recall a lot of bugs, other than I think I mentioned the issue with the price listing, that it was different than on the exchanges because they were referring to the ERC20 version instead of the regular ones. But overall, it's been pretty solid. I haven't had too many problems with it. I do like the new interface. I think it has a good look to it. It's pretty easy to use, and I didn't pull it up, but actually I should do this. I'm going to show you because it's actually pretty fast. Let me show that really quick. It's way faster than it used to be. Let's just go through that really quick. So I'll hit claim. Is that a nice little screen? That's a nice looking screen. So my little window's coming up. Let's see. Now this is my algo, so you can't really judge it on that, but here's the transaction. I think clicking on everything, yeah, pretty fast, done. That's not bad. Then I'm just going to restake it again. Stake the whole thing. And it's not showing you the screen as always, but you can see my signature on it, which is blocked out of source, so you can't see the password, but here it comes and done. Yeah, not bad. It's pretty quick. I don't know. I remember that being actually a little bit faster, but it's pretty good interface. So I give them credit. I will say, in terms of cons, now some of the features, like I thought the lotteries they basically rewarded whales. So if you had a ton of Algorand or Yieldy, it could pay off for you. If you didn't, I just don't think it was very useful. I never won. There was some people that asked in forums, has anyone actually won this? And nobody did. So I think it's just tough because it's the more you have, the more tickets you get. So basically, if you're a whale, you're probably going to win. And someone looked at it and they showed like it was pretty much whales that always won, people with like an enormous amount of Algorand. So it is what it is. Yearly coin price hasn't been great. So that's definitely one con against it. It seems like a lot of other coins have been doing a lot better than Yearly. It's just been it's had a rough time. Let's just say that, very rough time. So let's see what other cons. I know some people had a problem with them partnering with Polygon. Again, I don't really have a problem with it as long as they have a core functionality on Algorand, so I'm okay with that. And I haven't heard a lot about, they haven't talked a lot about that. Maybe they realize that people in Algorand community don't want to hear about that. Fair enough, yeah. And just the other cons, and I guess this kind of goes into my overall analysis. As you can see, it's still a very viable platform, but I do think there are others that look more promising. Cometa looks probably the most promising to me right now, just because of the auto compounding. I mean, that's some features that I think Yieldy should have had by now, considering they've been kind of the first to market. The auto compounding is really helpful. It's just so easy if you're doing liquidity pools. But it's good to have options. It's good to have options because if you want, if you're getting like, so for example, Cosmic, I'm getting this Cosmic gold every month because I own the NFT. Well, it's great to have somewhere to put it and earn. And I've had problems with Humble just flat out not working. So I can't say that's ever happened with ELD. So I give a lot of credit. I think it's definitely one to keep in your tool bag. And it's definitely one that if you have the right coins for it, it's definitely a good one to have around. Is it the best option? I don't know. I think there's some like Cometa that I'm really big on. I like AlgoStake a lot because even though it doesn't, I was originally concerned because it doesn't use smart contracts like the other ones do. That's actually not a bad thing because the coins stay in your wallet. So the worst that can happen is they say, oh, you know what, you're not getting these coins anymore. So I've been, especially with all the stuff that's happening with exchanges lately, AlgoStake is one I'm keeping around. But Yieldy, overall, I think it's a good platform. I don't think it's the only one I would use. If I had to only choose one, it wouldn't be the one I choose, but it's definitely useful. It's not one that I'm going to ignore, and I don't think you should either. So anyway, that's what I think. Love to hear what you guys have to say. Were you in on day one, and how did your thoughts on Yieldy change over time? Or what do you think about this? Is this something you're going to try out? If you haven't, let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm Frugal BC. Hope you guys are staying safe out there and having a good time, and thanks for watching. And as always, we'll see you in the future.